Good morning, Europe. It's the 15th of June, 2026. It's Monday, and the markets will open in approximately 4 minutes and 20 odd seconds. We have a significant gap up from yesterday. So DAX closed at 24.6, and we're currently trading at 25. FTSE closed at 10.470, and we're currently trading at 10.550. So a significant gap. This morning I've been going through some scenarios that could play out today. For example, I have plotted what happens in a circumstance on a Monday where the market is gaps above previous day's high, which was Friday's high, gaps up by more than 0.5%, but the first bar is negative. And I think that's an interesting proposition to play around with, because if first bar is negative in the FTSE, there aren't that many sessions where it is over the last 1800 trading days. On a Monday, gap up, gap above previous day's high. Yeah. I might change it to a 15-minute chart. Anyway, I might refer back to this later in our session together. So with about a minute or so to go, I am still eating some breakfast, just so you know. I'll try and mute when I'm chewing. So right now, espresso is about here. That's for the long, and for the short, is about here. I'm getting this programmed into the software. So here we go. And obviously I want to keep an eye on the FTSE. What kind of open we're going to get. So stand by for a short in the DAX on the espresso. See if I can get a better fill than 25. So shorted the DAX at 35, which is slightly better fill. And I'm going to have a stop loss of 40 points. It's fair to say that that's probably the direction I didn't want to get filled in. But at least I can take some comfort in knowing that my fill is about 10 points better than the normal espresso fill would be. And there's my position, $30 a point, short. I'm going to be stopped out now. Stopped out. And espresso is now triggered long. Could be tempted to actually go long as well. As you can see, bought the DAX as an espresso. Just hope that I don't lose a double 40. Take a look at the FTSE. I think I'd like to be a buyer on a retracement in the FTSE. So stand by, please. Buying the... I thought I bought the... Oh. Did I just manage to buy twice? Whoops. Let me first post this. $105, 66.9. Right, I need to amend this mistake. Let's see. It was a bit weird. I just saw that the doesn't feel like that ticket is updating. If you notice up here, the my charts are not updating. What the hell? Well, thank God this is recorded on video, because otherwise nobody would have believed me. But right. Well, Houston, I got a bit of a problem. Well, I think I gotta hope for the best here. I feel a little hoodwinked. My chart didn't update. So just for the record, I should only be long one of these. And I was looking at my platform, and it said I was like -1. So all right, we'll just give that. And all of a sudden, it was almost as if there was a bottleneck on the data, and it filtered through, and now I'm -16. So now I'm just gonna have to eat it. And then there's a part of me going, all right, if that's the difference between a loss of 16 points and 25 points, I will take the extra 10-point loss and take my chances. Not a great start to my Monday, I must say. Not a great start to my Monday, I must say. I don't think no divergence is working. Okay, so in the DAX, I had an espresso short, didn't work. Now espresso long's not working either. And I had some machinery issues in the FTSE. I'm sure I'll make it back, but haven't had the most promising of starts this morning. You know, I would normally say how much of this news is already baked into the cake, but I don't know if you saw the Nikkei. It was up 3%. So there's the school run long in the Nikkei this morning at 69,000. How high did it actually go? 700 points. Interesting. All right, let's see if we can make up for the earlier damage. Oh, I noticed that the so we had an attempt to push above 77, and the espresso levels seem to work really well as identifying either a trading range or moving away from a trading range. Now, I was just about to add to my position, but I thought after that shaky start that I had, I was going to be a little less aggressive. I'm already call it $4,000 down. One is a fair and square. The other one, perhaps less so, but I still have to be responsible for it. When you in the FTSE have a first bar positive on a gap up and the second bar negative, the odds of the market pushing higher actually really quite small on a Monday and a gap up situation. And I'll show you because I think that's relevant. So what we're talking about is a gap up, first bar positive, second bar negative. And we're talking about a gap up on a Monday by at least 0.5%. And here, gap fill. Here, sideways. And remember, there's only 11 sessions out of the entire database that fills this pattern. Here, first bar positive, second bar negative. Eventually, push lower. Here, sideways. And eventually, pushing higher by about half-hour mark. Here, first bar positive, second bar negative, push lower. Here, first bar positive, second bar negative, push lower. Here, first bar positive, second bar negative, third bar positive, but still just indicative of a trading range. Here, first bar positive, second bar negative, eventually push higher, but remember at this point in time, this is when the FTSE was trading at 6,000, not 10,000. But it managed to break higher, but only temporarily by the near the hour mark, and then lower, and then sideways. And here, just an enormous sideways range. Let's see what else we got here. First bar positive, second bar negative. This is probably the one that closest so far resembles. We'll see about bar 3, push higher, but then back down again. Here, first bar positive, second bar negative, and then mostly just down. So I think I think this idea of it's a gap up, it's a bullish, actually that might not actually be the case. My entry is up here at 64. We just went as high as 60, and now we are trading lower again. The DAX is also struggling to push above 25,077. This is really a telling tale in the FTSE. I'm going to get stopped out now. But it also begs the question of, I think we got lower prices coming later. DAX trying again, and so far failing again. And I have been stopped out of the FTSE. I actually think that this calls for a short position. So I'm shorting the FTSE here. The stats is pretty clear. There we are. Probably going to trade lower. We are down at this area range, so I have to at least also brace myself for the possibility that the bulls are just waiting and they're buying this area down here. But I won't find out by sitting on the sideline. We'll see. DAX really struggling to push through. This is so far what we got. It's a first bar defining the next 4 or 5 bars. I'll put in a sell order at 29. And keeping an eye on the DAX that is still stuck in the range. I have been filled on my add-on in the FTSE. So filled in the FTSE on the add-on. Now it really must go down. As you can probably see on the other screen, FTSE is trading at 37. So I'm now losing on both. Not good. We're coming up to school run. FTSE is it's killing me today. Shit. So this is what it looks like on the daily chart. Big gap up. Coming up to the June 3rd high, which had a high of 25,124. But as you can see for yourself, DAX is struggling to get above the overnight range. So early trading range so far. So what I can't really afford now is to see the FTSE meaningfully begin to trade above 6 on the 5-minute. It needs to stay below 43, 543, and not close above 43. Because it is a trading range in the DAX, I am not going to add to it, but I do have a school run set up here at above 88. We just went as high as 86. I would take the school run. So DAX school run short will trigger here at 51. But you can also see that it's an inside bar, so I would trade that as an anti. Unfortunately, I am already long, so I would love to buy here, but I can't. I got a stop loss down here. I'm gonna stick to that. Come on, FTSE. I think I mentioned earlier, I wonder how much of the news is baked into the cake, but if you ask the Nikkei, it wasn't. So candle 7 went down and essentially tested the lows of 5 and 6 and is now pushing higher. Not what I wanted to see. You don't get many better examples of a trading range behavior than this. Bar 1 defines and has so defined the trading range for the last 7 bars. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all inside bars of 1. Albrecht would have a field day. Trading range behavior, you want to be a buyer here around 50. I can't because I'm already long, and you can't add to a losing trade. FTSE. FTSE is my issue right now. Let me just remove that for a second and remove all drawings, and let's just look at the naked chart. There we go. So if we're looking at a daily chart, we got a gap up on a Monday. Fine. We have a high from early June. Could be a target. Have a big range on Thursday. Humongous range, actually. $700 points. And so far, since Friday's high, well, we're about 300. Obviously, this is on the daily chart. And on a 5-minute chart, just looking at how the market is trading now. We are well and truly in a trading range. I'll just minimize the window so you can see for yourself. It would seem that it was the 50% area at 49 that held the FTSE. I'll mark that. The range down, so far, 40 points. 40 points from here on a measured move, which take us down to this area here. And if it's just a like for like, well, then it could take us down to here. But of course, it may also just reverse and go back up. What seems clear is that the DAX has no desire to push higher. We are now 10 bars into the session, and we got overlaps, we got wicks on practically every single candle. You could argue that the most determined bar is bar 9. But that's the hallmark of a trading range. You buy bear bars, you sell bull bars. Yeah. Intuitively, it doesn't feel good, doesn't make sense. But technically, it's the right idea. I'll take a question. I found a question here, somebody saying, hi Tom, you spoke about helping people learn and getting a healthy mindset. For those who can't or are not ready to trade the live markets, and demo is also not an option, well, you kind of limited yourself there, as you said in the past. Okay. What do you think about talking to your developer and create a simulator? Well, I've already done that. I'll show you. Yeah, so this is this particular trading day in demo mode. So way ahead of you there. Probably needs a bit of work on, but there it is. But my reply was, that I think there's an abundance of simulators already in existence. And I think school run, brunch break, first buy negative, I think what you'd be better off doing is to print out a chart every night. If you can't trade live and you can't trade a demo, then I would say the next best thing is to buy a printer and print out. All right, so we have a retest of the lows. FTSE and the DAX are moving opposite today. So is the FTSE also in a trading range, or are we actually breaking lower? Let's see where we close in 1 minute and 30. as I said earlier, and I'm just reciting theory here, in a trading range, you buy bear bars and you sell short bull bars. And the most decisive bear bar was bar 9, and yet here we are. Some 20 points higher. We're currently trading at 105.30. Would love to add to this, but I need to see more momentum. And momentum is usually helped if another index is also trading lower, and the DAX isn't. So gap fill, not that I think it will happen, would be at 104.71. Halfway of this on the 1 minute chart is 105.37. You could also try and make a measured move count here. You have 30 down. 30 down would be down here. So as always, when you engage in this kind of drawing, there's as many possibilities as your mind can conceive. I'm selling another in the FTSE. $105, 26.5. So you look at candle 11, you think, oh, is this going to be the one that breaks? Maybe, but the odds are not good. Just so you're clear, school run will trigger up here at about 87, 88. I'll show you. And there's the line. So we'll have a measured move in the FTSE at 18. I'm currently 300% short in the FTSE. Excuse me. Market looks a little more determined now. I'm going to be stopped out now in the DAX, it would seem. FTSE met its objective, at least one of them. Going to be stopped out in the DAX now. Yeah. Okay. I still think that it's a trading range, but I had to have a stop somewhere. DAX now traded below first bar opening range. I'm finding it a little hard to believe that we're going to have a gap up above previous day's high and then we're going to reverse strongly. Not saying it couldn't happen, but I think the odds of it happening is slim. There's no real indication that this is anything but a trading range. So 105.18 was a measured move down. You can see that clearly on the 1 minute chart. I had to be a seller here again. Betting that we will go lower. I am now 400% short the FTSE. These two blue lines marks where the majority of the trading took place. And we're now testing that from the downside. Still looks like a trading range, doesn't it? testing 18 again, and now trading below 18. I wonder if 09 is going to be on the cards. I'm currently 400% short. I think that line that I drew, the 5 minute, I think it's a really it's a telling tale that we now tested it from below and it was immediately rejected. But we have a long overnight range. That could act as support. Hoping to see 105.09. But fully aware that we are in a gap up situation. All right, well, maybe we are. Probably don't want to be too much of a dick for a tick, so I'm going to close some of my FTSE here. The sort of the objective that I had was 105.09, and I just closed a bit at 105.12. There's 105.10. Okay. There's 105.09. So I'm closing one more. I took half of it. But we keep falling, so, you know. Close a little bit more. Let's go update this on Telegram. Close 100% more. Still short 100%. Probably move my stop loss down. What do I do? There's a part of me at that moment said, you know what, I should probably sell short the DAX. But I felt I was so exposed in the FTSE that I couldn't really justify taking on more risk. There is, of course, the gap close. 104.89. My little error obviously cost me. The 2,500 loss is fair and square. The other one, that is part my fault. Actually, it's all my fault. I just I felt a little cheated because the data didn't update. I think things would have been a bit different, but it is what it is. So I'm definitely not having a great morning, but I am making a lot of it back. I think I'll close half of what I got left, and then I think I'll just move stop loss to break even on the rest. And see if I get a runner. I may or may not. Oh. The objectives were kind of met with 105.18, but I held back, and then 105.09. 105.18 was a measured move, and 105.09 if we clear all the drawings. $105.09 was from here, that was 40 points. And then this was 40 points. So there's your 105.09. So also a measured move, down, up, down, yeah? So from here to here, and from here to here. I probably could have drawn that a little better, but you sort of get the gist of it. I'm just taking a 5-minute break. Oh, sorry. Let's take a look at the DAX historically, because we don't have that many sessions with a big gap up of more than 1% on a Monday. So out of the database's 1,800 observations, of course, not all of them on Mondays, naturally. A fifth of them on Mondays. It's interesting to see here that, it's 10:30 in Copenhagen, Europe. And so we are on roughly on bar, what's that, bar 6. So if we go through the 15-minute bar and we are sort of observing bar 6 where we are, you see that when you have these big pushes higher, you tend to get higher prices. So just so we're talking the same language here. If I show you the 15-minute chart, we're currently at bar 6. So bar 5 is currently the low of the day, and you'll see that as we go through these, when bar 5 is the low, well, you saw continuation. So let's see, when bar 5, when you begin to break lower, it doesn't seem to necessarily stop, even on these big gap up days. So let's look, we're roughly around here. And when bar 5 is trading at the lows, then the lower prices seem to come. And obviously then you have, when was this? November 2000. That's probably COVID, right? Maybe a vaccine news, who knows? Who knows? So here's bar 5, that's the lowest, and we see lower prices until about midday. And there's bar 5, and we seem to keep breaking lower. And then we have another hour of lower prices on this particular day. And here's bar 5 again. We had lower prices. And here's bar 5, and there it seemed that the worst was behind us and we began to rally. Bar 5 is at the highs. Bar 5 is a negative bar. So you had a sideways, then up, and then down. If it follows this pattern, well, then maybe a little lower prices and then